Hello and welcome into this Kmain walkthrough. Here we're going to go over all of the Kmain checks in Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise. We're going to talk a little bit of strategy on some bosses, note the HP at the boss locations when you're fighting a single boss form, so like if Bahamut adds a location, and then to kind of go through the game a little bit, hopefully help new people starting the game feel a little more comfortable as they do their first runs. We do have K vanilla and B vanilla turned on for this particular go, just so you can see where everyone is at their vanilla locations, and note you get if K vanilla is turned on. Also kind of helps just guide me through this walkthrough so that I can know where everything is, and it gives a good little pace. So we'll go through stuff that mostly the vanilla locations or vanilla ordering, and you can see as stuff gets a little bit harder as we go throughout. I do have music turned off. We'll go to the custom menu, kind of talk about that stuff. Encounters, we will be leaving off as long as E-toggle is enabled on your flag set. You can turn encounters on and off whenever you like. Battle speed is an important thing to note. As you're new to the game, you probably want to start seeds on battle speed 3. Just go ahead and initially automatically come here and change this to battle speed 3. That's a good mixture of the game still moving pretty quick so it doesn't feel pokey, and also giving you enough time to enter commands so you're not handing turns back over to the enemy side. If and when you need more time to enter commands, you can move it to battle speed 6, which gives you lots of time, but the game does feel a little bit slow there. So we recommend the new players start at 3 or maybe 4. There's no reason to change the battle message. Doesn't really do anything. We're going to leave dash to auto. I've turned the music off just so that there aren't any weird copyright things or whatever. Sometimes people on YouTube get a little bit overclaimy on songs they don't actually own. So we're just going to turn that off, not deal with it. Flash effects should be off by default. I think it's been set up that way to kind of help anyone who has any sensitivity to flashing lights and stuff not have to think about it and not remember to come in and turn that off. Then you'll see pretty much most players leave that off, especially anyone on tutorial restreams and whatnot. And I've changed the base window color a little bit. We also have this run. We only have Fusa. You can tell because he's the only one who has a character image here. So we're only doing Fu. We're doing that so that because it's just a little bit easier to navigate through the fights this way and make them fast and not have to talk about in depth about too much strategy or kind of waste anyone's time with seeing some pretty basic fights happen. You can turn on name distinguishers when you have for your characters, kind of differentiate different instances of a character when you have duplicates enabled. You can turn that to on. You can also turn it to silly. I just leave it off all the time. So we'll go ahead and get started here in just a second. We'll go over the flags real quick. We have no objectives, so we will get the crystal if we go to fight Zeromus. That's what happens when you have K vanilla on, which we have. The pass is in a shop. We also have shops as vanilla, so it's pretty much going to happen there anyway. We are on C relaxed, which means that there is no restriction for where characters can be. They can be anywhere. We have C no free turned on because we're just not going to deal with picking up extra Fusiyas along the way as we just kind of walk through the world. We'll only get them at the reward spots. I only have Fusiya because it just makes life easier. T empty so that we aren't distracted by any boxes. This isn't the correct walkthrough for if you want to know where treasure is or kind of talk about those flags. That can be in a separate thing. Go ahead and give comments or suggestions in the Discord for Enterprise if you'd like to see extra videos like that. Shops are vanilla, bosses are vanilla, encounters are toggleable. We have no glitches. We do have vanilla Fusiya, which means we'll start all our spells, and vanilla Myabs for just their locations. That's the monsters in a box. We're not going to open any of them because they are not in the Kmain pool, so we're just going to go where the vanilla locations are. And let's go ahead and get started. As we get started, we're going to start off in Baron, just like you do in the normal vanilla game. We're going to get our partner character, who is, not surprisingly, Fusoya, and then we're going to see the Baigen boss, who is, again, Baigen. We get a package handed to us, which is a key item. You can get a character from there, but there is no key item behind doing that, so we're not going to be doing it in this walkthrough. That package is a place where if you have K no free enabled as a flag, where the key item that is normally on Bedward and Troya will actually be on Demist We have to fight D-Mist, defeat D-Mist, and then go back to Mist Village in order to visit Rydia's mom, but that's not enabled here. We're not going to talk about it too much. We'll talk about it briefly when we go and go visit Bedward. But here we're going to start out at Antlion. Let me bring up the info for Antlion. So this location has 1000 HP. When you have multiform bosses, that 1000 HP will get split among stuff. We also have a speed of 5, so it's not a pretty fast fight. Antlion himself will counter the fight command, which includes casting Berserk on somebody, as well as Avengers, and just hitting the fight command. Going to do a quick little rearrange of spells here to move Nuke up to the top. Also going to move Quake up. And then we're going to equip the Fusayas a little bit differently. We're going to give them adamant armors, we're going to give them ninja hats, and we're going to give them crystal rings. This, in effect, is going to make them very, very fast. Which will help out this walkthrough in terms of just making the enemies go much slower. We will also use... I'm going to give them each one apple to put them at an even 2,000 hit points. AU apples are worth 100 HP. AG apples for silver apples are worth 50 HP. And then we're going to do a few Soma drops so I don't have to really think about MP costs for anything. So these two, we're not going to do as much for the other foos. Won't really matter. We're going to move some equipment out of the way. We're going to use this whistle also. A whistle is an item that involves the big chocobo. You can now give him stuff out of your inventory. We don't need any of this stuff. We will at some point need Artie Bow and Artie Arrow, but none of this other stuff matters. So we're just going to not have it in the inventory and make life a little bit easier for us. And then you can also, when you have test settings enabled, you can kind of pre-fill inventory stuff and get some of these things, but we're not going to worry about any of them because none of this stuff matters for what we're doing here today. So walk through Antlion. Normally you'd probably be doing a little bit of looting here, but again, we're not worried about loot, so we're going to take that hidden passage and then walk through. As we walk down, at a certain point the game will take over and will initiate the fight for us. So once we get start walking onto this stairway that is just below me, the game's going to take over. Actually, when you get off the stairway, it's the exact trigger. Get over, you get to see who the sprite is that you're going to fight, and then you fight the sprite. We'll do a quick fight and watch Antlion counter that. That counter is a counter attack. That is based, its damage is based on Antlion's physical attack, but it is not an actual physical attack, so it'll go through blink, it'll go through a moon veil. Like, its damage is based on that stat, but it kind of rolls a little bit like a magic attack, but it also goes through wall. So yeah, we get a sand ruby. You would normally turn that in Kaipo, but we aren't doing that because this is just Kmain, and that's just a character check behind that, not a progression item. So we're going to exit quickly from Antlion Cave and move on to the Fabul Defense. I'll overfly it as I'm transitioning the information on the screen. The Fabul Defense has 1880 HP if you have a single target boss. Its speed is 6 to 9, so again, pretty slow, but a little bit faster than Antlion. You need a little more to get this fight done. Antlion's often doable fairly easily with nothing more than just your first two characters and maybe them getting a little bit of upgraded weapons. This can often require a little bit more, and there are some bosses who can really stymie you here. But you can get in here, and then once you walk up, you'll get an automatic trigger that keeps you walking forward. You'll be asked, do you want help? Yes or no. Click yes to do the fight. Click no to walk out. You can always come back and re-trigger that. So it's not a permanent no, just a temporary no. Then you get a quick cutscene outside. You do get a full heal before the fight, as well as a full heal after the fight. And here we have the vanilla gauntlet. I'm going to make use of run buffering a little bit to make this a little bit faster. going to make it so that I can get my commands in before they even get a chance to do anything most of the time. It's a little bit of a match technique, don't worry about it initially. We're casting Virus here because it's faster to cast. Again, a little more in depth of the battle system, but spells have speeds at which they come out, and Virus and Nuke are very, very fast, where Quake is a little bit slower. We have enough magic power here to easily kill all these enemies, so not a big deal to spend time casting the Virus. Here we'll just bonk. I think one bonk kills. Yep, there we go. Going to not accept the item that always gets handed out there. And then I missed my run buffer, and I think I didn't even cast that Virus correctly. Yeah. That one got out fine. And then one last fight. And there we go. And you see during the gauntlet, you do get experience for each fight as you go through. Things are a little bit different if the gauntlet happens to be at a location, if it is a vanilla gauntlet, and it happens to be at a location where you wouldn't get experience, then you'd continue to not get experience. But if we did have the alternate gauntlet, which pulls from the local area, from the random encounters in the local area, you do get experience because those are the normal fights. Under K vanilla, you just get a black sword here, as you do in vanilla. So no key item in vanilla, but you do get key items during normal playthroughs when you have Kmain turned on as the setting. From Fabul, after getting a full heal, we're going to now head up to Mount Ordeals, and I do mean up because we're going to fly up because it's a little bit faster. We land at Mount Ordeals and walk up the mountain. If we had free characters turned on when we get to a screen shortly, you would pick up an extra character. I think it'd be here. But I don't have free characters turned on, so we're not going to pick up an extra Fusoya quite yet. But we will get one. We'll get a few shortly. Here there are 3 bosses on the fight on the way up. Let me first trigger the Mylon information. This spot has 2,780 HP. Is a little bit. It's a set speed of 8, and it does counter damage. So we're gonna make sure we trigger damage to see that counter. I'll counter with a lit 1, and then we'll just knock them all down. Most of the time, if you see stuff that is not divisible by 100 in terms of HP, that means there's some weirdness going on with the script. And the way that we're calculating the HP for normal bosses is being affected by that. And that's the case here. Mylon has a Oh My Body script. So see, he's countering that virus with a lit 1, and here we're going to do a quake, which will knock him over, and should... Oh, that just straight out killed him. But had we done less damage, you would see him say, "Oh, my body," and then he would crumble to dust. Not through the crumble animation, just kind of virtually. Here we have back attack Mylon Z. Let us, as he's talking to us, we'll get these stats up. This spot, being back attack, means the enemy is going to go first all the time. Mylon Z just talks at you to start. But we do have 3,000 HP here. Mylon Z is a zombie. So we're going to cast Cure 4 on him instead of anything else, and it's going to do damage. This spot has a fairly high magic power, and since it's a back attack, there's a few bosses that are really rude. Plague and Magus Sisters are some of the big ones that will stymie you early, beyond the bosses that are normally set as not free. Odin is also pretty bad because of the back attack, so he gets a jump start on his Odin attack from you. But just some stuff to watch out for as you're playing. But overall, not that bad a spot, and we move quickly on to Dark Knight Cecil. Here, Cecil will become a paladin before the fight. You get a full heal before the fight, as well as after, and Tello will learn all his spells after the fight. In vanilla, we'll get the Legend Sword. And then you don't want to use the fight command here. Similar to Antlion, but in this case, it'll just reset Dark Knight Cecil's script. His script, normally he'll attack 3 times with his Dark Wave command, which is based off the physical stat at the location, but is itself not a physical attack. So you can't really mitigate the damage. There's some places where it does up to 1300 damage, which is pretty gross. Most of the time, if you see him in later locations, you will just accept the 3 Dark Waves of damage and use your high level as healing as you can on people to keep at least 1 person alive throughout the fight. You don't need to kill him unless you have Be No Free on, in which case he won't off himself. You do have to do the damage, but we're not using that flag, and we can continue on. We'll walk down Ordeals, and as we're doing so, if you are stuck on the overworld, Ordeals is probably the best place to do some grinding. You can use a Siren up on the top thing to get 2 Lamias. And that is a pretty good fight. Or 2 Liliths, I'm sorry, 2 Lilith. And that is a pretty good fight. Easy to handle, pretty good XP for the location, and can help you get going. Here, we're going to start off at Baron Inn in the Baron Town. And we will go and fight these guards. This location has 400 total HP, which means these guards each have 200. We're going to do a quick virus. These guards can be nasty. They counter physical attacks with the size spell to make your people smaller. And they will counter magic attacks with the mute spell, which makes it, so your magic people don't do anything. It's kind of gross. No, they target with Piggy. They counter with Piggy. Which, again, does make your mages not be able to really do anything. We quickly went through Yang, because I kind of forgot how fast that goes. So we will pause here for a second, transition that to the Karate. That normally has 4000 HP. It's a pretty darn slow fight at 4 to 7. But it has pretty good attack power, which means Baron Inn is a little hard to do right out the gate. 4000 HP is a lot for your characters to do without doing at least a couple other checks, especially for only 2 characters. But something that we did fairly easily there just because we started with double Fu. Karate himself does have a script that after his normal script, he'll fight and then kick, and then fight and then kick, and then fight and then kick until you kill him. When he says, hey, I'm going to kick a second time to the game, it does set a flag to allow Paladin Cecil to swing at him and kill him, no matter how much damage has been done for the actual karate fight. That's not tied to the location, that's tied to the actual karate boss. But now we can move on to Baigen. With that Baron key, we could open the weapon armor shop, but we're just going to open the watery passage here. And then we're going to walk on. So most of the time in Seeds, you won't get the Baron key at a place where you will have remembered who the boss is here. So it's very highly suggested to write it down or find some way to mark it for yourself, which boss is at this location. In this case, we know Baigen is here, so we're going to pretty quickly just give him a quake. There's only 4200 HP here. Baigen gets most of it, the arms get a little, and it's pretty slow at a speed of 8. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a virus to start that'll kill the arms, but get Baigen to counter with a wall that he puts up on himself after he gets targeted with any magic cast. But twin and summon spells are not magic. Item usages are magic though, so be a little careful there. So I'll do 1 virus cast. He will counter with a wall. And then on his turn, when he has no arms up, he's going to summon his arms back. You can see when I first had Quake there, it only targeted Baigen, and it wasn't this kind of multi-target. That would have meant that I only would do Quake damage to Baigen and miss the arms. So if you are kind of waiting for those arms to come back on a multi-target, make sure that the arms are actually targeted by those hands before you go ahead and move on. Baigen done and handled fairly quickly. Now we can move to Kinalto, who has 4,000 HP, is notably faster at 15, which makes stuff like Wyvern a very rude boss here, because this is one of the first ones where you might be outsped, and you probably aren't expecting it. Doesn't matter for me, I've got admin armors and nuke on my side, and the turtle's going to go down very fast and crumble away. Here we'll pick up another new character. It will again be Fu, because we're only Fu. And we'll get no key item at the end of this, because we're on B vanilla, but you would get a key item normally. If we had Key Summon on, the Basement Throne would be a key item check, but we're not going to do that because we're just a Kmain walkthrough today. Got a little cutscene and a little walking to do. We'll get a couple more random sprites here in place of the Palom and Porm that you saw in vanilla. Just some of the nice little grace notes that have been added to the randomizer. Next up, we will be headed to Toroya to visit Bedward there, as well as go do the Twin Harp and climb the Tower of Zout. Here we get nothing. We just get an exclamation point. So Bedward, on a flag set, if you do not see Kano free, that means Bedward has an item. If you do see Kano free, that means when you find Demist and defeat Demist, you then go to the Mist Village and visit Rydia's mom, who you will see on the sunbathing, we'll call it. And you talk to her and we'll get the key item check that would normally be here. But here we just walk in, walk down. You don't have to press any buttons until the text pops up and you get an item. Again, K vanilla, so it's a Twin Harp. And then we say, cool, peace out, I'm gonna exit. Thanks for all your help, Edward. Edward will give us one more bit of help as we go to Dark Elf and fight things here in Cave Magnus. First, walk north to the Chocobo Forest. Note how fast the Chocobos are moving, but once I get up in one's face and kind of touch it, it slows down. So it makes it a little bit easier to catch. And then you just want to be tapping A as you're getting close to the one you want. You want to get a black Chocobo. Fly over here to Cave Magnus. The black Chocobos land in forest tiles. And then here you walk south a tile, you'll get this cutscene. It says magnetic field is in effect. If people had magnetic items equipped, they wouldn't be able to do anything in fights. Which is a nice way of speeding up the upcoming cutscene where you first fight Dark Elf and then Eddie has to help you from bed. But we don't have any of that going on, so we're going to see the entire cutscene. Also, if you come here without the Twin Harp, you will be called a fool, and Dark Elf will absolutely wreck your face. You will feel foolish for doing so. It'll happen, though. Don't worry about it. Further, also, this is a save point. If you're at all unsure that you can beat this boss, save. You will see a lot of people skip this because this isn't too terrible of a boss, but still. There is an awful lot of magic defense here. However, we have nuke and adamant armors. It doesn't matter. Although, it does matter for this fight, because he's got a lot of HP. And now he's going to call me, he's going to say, how dare, eventually. He's going to attack us, he's going to do a triple elemental attack that's very weak. And then he will actually cast weak on us. But you can see that if we came in with like iron rings on all these fusayas or iron arrows, or just had magnetic equipment equipped on anyone, we wouldn't have to do all of that waiting around, which is helpful, but absolutely not necessary. If we ever do further videos that really explore some of the other flags in depth, there are some tricks with permadeader, where that is a pretty brutal, evil flag to think about, but just don't play with permadeader and you don't have to worry about it. But here we get a nice randomized song, thanks to either Boardface or Calm Lemony or Xenocat, who have done most or nearly all of the harp song translations. So now that Edward is playing through the twin harp, and you can see what song he's playing by just kind of talking to the twin harp. Then you reinitiate the fight by talking to Dark Elf again. And then this is a two-phase fight with the Dark Elf. You'll first have the Dark Elf himself, just like you saw before. He'll do roughly the same things that he did in the initial. And you see how little damage that nuke did. But also important is that the Dark Dragon lacks the boss bit, so we can actually cast the weak spell on it to put it to single-digit hit points, and then we can cast nuke. Also, you can cast a stop on it or use an hourglass. Can be really important. But mostly in Cave Magnus here, enemies will get a lot of magic defense, so you can't usually use magic unless you have nuke or something super powerful like that. Also important to notice that you don't get a key item just from the fight. You have to walk up and go talk to the crystal in order to get the key item here. Of course, while you're here, you can play the song again if you'd like. And then I'll play as long as you're here. We'll also, at the end of a seed, you can also go back to Bedward and talk to the harp there and get the song playing once you've defeated Zeromus, and then you get at least to the solar system at the end. But now that we've gotten our Earth Crystal, we can walk out of the room and then cast Exit. You can't exit from the room itself, you have to walk out in order to do so. Then we'll get back on our black chocobo, which will automatically fly back to the forest, and if you hold down on your D-pad, you won't get sucked into the forest automatically that you would if you didn't hold down. So just a nice little time save there. You can just hold down and just walk out. Now, armed with the Earth Crystal, we can go defeat the second boss in Zot. The first boss is accessible, even without the Earth Crystal, as is on any of the treasure chests here. And that's really important to note when you have K no free on, because D-Mist does occasionally sneak into the Magus Sisters spot and has a required progression before you can get underground or get in many places. So a little bit sneaky and tricksy, and if you do end up turning on objectives with boss hunts, remember that you can do the first boss in Zot, the Magus Sisters spot, even without the Earth Crystal. And if Kmain is turned on, you can defeat the Flame Dog in this tower in a monster in a box, also without the Earth Crystal, and that could have a key item progression if the Kmain flag is on. But neither Kmain is on nor is Kano free, so we don't worry about any of that. And we're gonna go fight the Magus Sisters. Magus Sisters spot overall has 9,000 HP and only a speed of 7, so it's pretty darn slow. So we are going to use a Quake. That will mostly kill them, maybe not kill the middle sister, because she gets more HP than anybody else. We're actually going to be a little bit silly and wait for her to summon her sisters back, just to kind of show that part of the script off. She'll punch, depending on where she's in her script, she might do a little bit more, but then she'll, anytime a sister's dead, at some point in the script, she will resummon the sisters. You do get, they split the XP at the spot evenly between all three of them, so I actually killed 5 of them for the purposes of getting experience and gold for the price of just the one fight, so I got a little more than normal. Can be nice to do a little bit of sister grind in places, cannot be. Now here's where you get stopped if you don't have an Earth Crystal. When you walk up here to try and go past this spot, if you don't have the Earth Crystal, you'll be told to come get the Earth Crystal, to get the Earth Crystal and come back. And this sprite here is Golbez. This does reference the actual Golbez sprite in the at the second boss and Dwarf Castle, which we'll be doing soon. But we do have the Earth Crystal. We hand it over. We get rejected back for a second, but then Golbez, satisfied with his shiny green rock, disappears. But again, you will see the correct sprite at whoever is at the second place in Dwarf Castle. So it is a nice little, hey, here's what you're going to fight. You get some nice free information. You get 2 characters here from this check. You do have to defeat the second boss under almost every flag set in order to keep those characters. It's a special flag set called Push B to Jump that allows you to do weird stuff. We won't get into that at all here. So this fight will be Valvalis. I do not think that we will be able to get to the nuke off in time in order to damage her. So we'll try. Or maybe we'll just show off that she gets bad magic and gets really high magic defense at this location. If she turns into Tornado before that nuke happens, which she did, then this nuke is not going to do anything, but we can give Arty Arrows and an Arty Bow to that Foo, and give him a burst spell to do a little extra damage and to automatically attack, and we'll be through this. Valvalis can wreck your day, especially if you don't have some way of dealing damage. There are many spots where she is totally immune to magic, like we just saw, and there are a lot of spots where she is very hard to defeat. And once we get out of this fight, we'll kind of go over some of the stats, because this is about where you want to think about how you might attack her. And Invenerable does have a great guide available on the wiki to kind of give you a summary of where you can do certain things to her, like where she's nukeable, where she's only nukeable, and gives a breakdown of like what the stats are for you to in order to be able to hit her when she's in tornado form. And then you can always use Kmain to jump, and that knocks her out of a tornado form. As long as you have the jump command available, then you can be able to knock her out of tornado form, and she kind of changes up her script and punches a few times and then goes back into tornado form. Completing Zont ends you up in Cecil's bedroom, where you'll get a key item, in this case the magma key. Oh, I forgot to bring up Val's stats, so we're going to quickly do that before we move on. So Val has 6,000 HP, has a speed of 18. I think that's the highest we've seen. It's pretty speedy. That spot has some pretty brutal stats if you go up to Zot early. It is a surprisingly difficult place to go very early. You kind of want to power up a bit. But let's go to the status screen real quick. I'll take a look at Middle Foo, who has, so you see that attack 6 times 55. So he gets 6 rolls in order to attack. Each roll does about 55 damage with some modifiers that are hidden behind the scenes. It's usually up to about either that up to 1.5 times that value. And then he attacks at 72% accuracy with the Lunar Staff. We go to this Fusaya, we see he's at 8 times 124. That's because the Artemis Bow and Artemis Arrows are a lot more powerful than a Lunar Staff for attacking, and he attacks at 82% accuracy. And if we go and press the select button, you get to see like the individual stats and what things do. So Artemis Arrows attack at 75 power. They don't modify your accuracy at all, because that all comes from the bow, which also adds 80 attack power and 70% accuracy. Then you get extra accuracy based on a couple other things. A lot of in-depth information in the algorithm stack from Deathlike, and then links to that are available in the wiki and in the Discord should you want to. And then Ninja Hat and Adamant and Crystal Ring are mostly all there to give us extra agility and just big stats. But you also notice Kitty is not a good time. You have similar defense and magic defense rolls. That is for in order to kind of that defense percent is to evade. So you take that 2 times. So I have 2 chances to evade magic attacks at 28% attack, and you have that same like attack multiplier as how many attacks you're having, and those kind of match up 1 to 1. So Valvalis can have like 5 evade rolls at like 90% evade, so she's likely to evade at least 5 attacks, so you probably need like 6 or 7 in order to do any reasonable damage to her. which is why Valvalis in trained form is pretty rude and gross. But that is enough of a summary for that. We are now going to go underground. We're going to start with Dr. Luge, because that is actually the fight that you would start with. So you go to Agar to fly south from Baron in order to go to Agar to walk up to the well and drop the magma key down. So Dr. Luge will be, once we go through this cutscene where the world shakes a bit and a big hole opens up in the mountains, we will then go and climb Lower Babel. We won't enter Upper Babel at all on this because it's not any part of the Kmain checks. We'll do the hook route at some other point in time. But mostly just trying to keep this a little focused. So, having dropped the magma key, we can now go underground. Get back in our airship, fly over some of the dark pit here, and press A like you're going to land in it, but you'll go straight through. And now we can land outside of Lower Babel. We will walk up to the top of the tower here. If we had Kmain on, there are 4 alerts in treasure chests here that are weak to lightning and don't have that much HP. But we'll get into that too much more because, again, not Kmain. But just to note that there are 4 potential key item checks available in this, more if you have that flag turned on. The Dr. Luge fight has 4 different forms overall and 3 phases. You can skip one of the phases entirely if you kill both the initial Dr. Luge form and the Balnab form quickly enough where they don't get actions in between, or get a sufficient number of actions depending on where they are in their scripts. And they do split the XP or the HP at a spot between them. Again, noting here that the HP listed is the HP if this were a single fight. These guys all together will have more HP listed just based on how the scaling works. Speed note also is 27. These are faster than anything we've seen before. This is a pretty speedy spot. It isn't super dangerous in terms of like actual threat to us, but it is a speedy spot. So some bosses can be really brutal here. Here you see they have enough health to survive a quake, but they won't survive 2. This fight can be slow if you don't, if you're not able to knock them both out before this dialogue happens, because it's kind of slow. He's also known as Dr. Dialogue sometimes. So if you only kill one of them, if you kill, say, Balnab only, you'll fight Balnab Z in an interstitial fight. Or if you only kill Dr. Luge, you won't see Balnab Z, but you will have Balnab explode. So you do want to kill them as fast as possible, and you want to kill them together, if at all possible. If you can't kill them together, killing just Dr. Luge is probably preferable, because you go through less dialogue. Here, though, we're not even going to wait for him to show us the real fight. We're just going to nuke him twice, get our tower key, and skedaddle down to fight the Dark Imps. Dark Imps are low-level minions in the grand scheme of things overall. This fight has under 600 HP if you have a single boss. It's kind of speedy, so there are some bosses that can really wreck your face, but there is a nice way to kind of tell if you're possibly fighting one of them, to make sure that you heal up beforehand. So we'll walk up to this door. We can't progress, we have to press A. It says, oh, it's locked, but a good thing I found a tower key. Walk in, don't walk at all, and if you press A, you will clear that text that says Super Cannon, and then you can see the boss sprite. If you see a sparkle and you haven't fought Ogopogo yet, you probably want to heal up. If you see the Leviathan thing and you're very low HP, you want to heal up. If it's Golbez, you might want to do any Golbez stuff that we'll talk about a little bit when we get to that fight. But just nice to not walk forward, just press A, and you get a preview of who the fight is. It lets you do some work. But we're adamant equipped foos. We'll just do one virus to them all, knock all these dark imps out, and move on with our day. You do not get the key item immediately at the conclusion of this fight. You do have to walk down all the way out of the tower. Normally not a big deal because you have to walk out anyway. There are some flags that make it possible for you to skip this or change things around, but those are notably more advanced and silly flags, or advanced and or silly flags. So again, a little beyond the scope of this. And now you just kind of walk out. Next, we'll be going to Dwarf Castle. I will prepare the stats for that. I will be fighting the Kmain fight at Dwarf Castle. But first, as we continue to walk out, continue to walk out. You can't even warp, you can't exit. This place is awfully slow to walk out. Sometimes it feels. But as you leave kind of these robot tiles here and get on the bridge, eventually the game will stop you. And then you get a nice little cutscene where the Golbez is destroying the bridge behind you somehow. And then you will be rescued by the airship and you'll get your key item check. Here it'll be the hook, which we'll use in a little bit. Put a pin in that. But while we're down here, let us go ahead and fly over to Dwarf Castle. I'll take a quick look. Yeah, we got plenty of HP and MP on everyone, so we'll go inside. Here, just walk straight up into the room. Walk straight up. You don't have to press any buttons here. You'll get a preview of the fight. You can't escape the fight unless you reset here. So if you want to eventually maybe think about scouting the first fight before you come in, make sure to save outside, see the boss, and see if it's one thing you want to fight. Here we've got the Calbranda dolls. The Cals, which are the back dolls, the blue dolls, don't have the boss bit, and the boss bit is the thing that prevents a number of status effects from landing on bosses, like stop and weak. The Cals have about 12% of the HP at this spot. The Brennas have about 4% of the HP total in the spot, and the big doll has about 54%. So very easy to clear them out. If you kill all the dolls, you don't have to fight the big doll. The big doll gets summoned when there's only one type of doll left. So if you're at a spot where you can't kill them all as easily as that, you want to just kind of go down to one left of each of them and then work on the Cal a little bit until you can kill them both at the same time. Golbez here can be awfully rude sometimes. He's going to do mean things to all of our foods that don't have crystal rings and hair and Item armors on. Luckily we have at least 2 there, so not a big deal here. But he's going to start out with casting Hold Gas on us all, or Hold, which will make us not be able to take turns unless we have defenses against it, which is the Adamant Armor or the Crystal Ring, and I have both. Heron Robes also prevent it. And then Shadow Dragon's going to come out and is going to demolish 3 times, or until we're down to 2 characters. You'll always be left with at least 2. If you start out the fight with only 2 living characters, Shadow doesn't do anything. But here we're going to cast Demolish 3 times. It will kill anyone who is not protected by a ribbon or an adamant armor. You can see that time, 2 of those times he targeted one of the foods who's still able to act. Golbez is weak to fire, so we're just going to cast fire. Golbez is immune to stuff while Shadow is, until Shadow disappears. Golbez is immune to you doing things. This is a fight where you very, very, very much want Star Veils available in a lot of spots, because Golbez's magic can be really, really rude. Virus, Lit 3, and then Fire 2. The Lit 3 and the Virus can be absolutely brutal and one-shot characters at many locations. There is a reason why Golbez is in the pool of bosses that say they can't gate underground access, because until you're used to fighting them, until you know some of the other tricks, like you can prevent that hold with a couple of status effects. If you want to know more about it, come into the Discord and talk about it in the Free Enterprise Discord, or go into the wiki. I think there's some information there. But in order to get the key item, you do have to walk down like I did to exit the fight, or to exit the dwarf castle. You'll be brought back, and you'll be given the Luca key. I could have exited from there, but we're just going to walk out. If we did have or if we had G warp on, we'd be able to warp into Sealed Cave in order to collect the key item here. But we have no glitches on, so we're just going to continue forth. Here we're going to use the Luca key in our normal press A to interact with the thing and then hand over a key item. We will open the door. Some little bit of tactical notes as you're going through a seed. If you have early underground access, like you start with the magma key and you find the Luca key very early, you can, if you want, turn on encounters like I'm doing here, and then talk to a door. You'll fight a trap door. You can then cast Wall on somebody targeted by that spell, and it will bounce back. There are some specific setups if you're not super fast and set up with all the things that I am, in order to make you able to get that wall off in time, because it's mostly pretty hard to do that. But it is a good bit of experience you can get there, so it can be very, very, very beneficial to do that. Again, there's a guide and a walkthrough, a video of how to do that available. Come into the Discord on Free Enterprise and find that information. But you can now, as long as you have encounters off, like you just saw, you don't fight any doors, and we'll just walk through Sealed Cave. And we will pick up the Darkness Crystal at the end of this. You do get to see the key item before you fight the fight. It's definitely suggested to take a save outside of Sealed Cave. And then also suggested to take another save here, so that you can have your options available to you when you both see the key item and see the boss. So here, finally in this room, there is one last trapdoor. If you had trapdoors on, you'll open the door. You will pick up the key item, walk over to it, browse A. Here it's a Darkness Crystal, so we definitely want to keep that. And then we will walk out. As long as you do not walk on the tile that is in between this little kind of stonework and the bridge, you won't get the encounter. So you are safe to do anything. You can walk on this tile. This is going to be a good stopping point if you need to like think about whether you need to do any equipping or whatever. But walking on this tile starts the fight. Evil Wall is pretty mean and cheats the agility system a little bit, but we don't really care because we have very powerful Fusayas with adamant armor and nuke, so it's not a big deal. But you see how fast he's moving. Let's bring up Evil Wall stats, and we'll go back and show Golbez's, because I forgot to do that. So Evil Wall got 19,000 experience, or 19,000 HP at a speed of 66, which is just very fast. Obscenely fast. And he cheats the ATB system by using a special command to kind of pair both that move forward and a punch together. And it means his turn kind of comes around faster than it really should. Don't want to get too much into the details there. But it does a lot of stuff. And you can see he counters magic cast at him with Petrify. Again, magic is like white or black, but does not count. Twin or summons do not count. But once you defeat that Evil Wall, you're free to walk about this. You can warp, but you cannot exit. So we're going to take advantage of the ability to warp to kind of get through this a little bit faster. Although I'm not going to warp through every room, and I do want to go back and show the Golbez stats, because I totally blanked on showing Mr. Golbez's information. So Golbez has about 3,000 HP at that location, and speed of 27, as kind of noted, is fairly fast, but has very low magic power at that location, and there's a decent amount of punch. So most of the time when you're fighting Dwarf Castle, if you can get through the Calbrana fight, you're most of the time good to take out the second portion, but not always. There's some bosses who can wreck your day, but it shouldn't happen that often. But we're kind of done with fighting at this point. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do...
FF4FE